Eric Burgess here with Music Marketing TV. Today we are doing an episode of Unnatural Limiting. We're taking the Pro L2 and we are going to be doing some pretty strange stuff with it. Instead of treating it sort of as you would normally use it, probably in a mastering chain or maybe at the end of a bus, we are using it as a multi-band limiter. And the way I'm doing this is through a plugin host called Patcher, which is distributed by ImageLine, the people who make FL Studio. So if I come into the map, I have a few pieces. If you've never seen Patcher, it could look a little crazy, but I have a frequency splitter. This is an FL Studio utility, and this shows the various bands that I can process. It just splits it up into low, mids, and highs with crossovers already made for me. And if I go to the surface, I can connect controls to control things. So I have the high control moving around the high band and the low control moving around the low band. And then the mid band is whatever, is left over. So that's why there's only a high and a low. And those are the only ones I was interested in controlling. There are some other things you can do with this plugin, but I just needed something to split the spectrum up. That is what this surface is doing. So I have activated these controls and they are going to the plugin and controlling these knobs. So when I move this, it's moving that. Then from the bands, I have my high output, my mid output, and my low output. And they go to an individual Pro L2 for each of them. So if you hold down Alt while you click on one, it will keep the previous ones open. So this is the high Pro L2. There is sort of a different change I did with this. If you're not used to seeing the Pro L2 like this, by the way, I am using the compact size. It gets rid of the visuals, and that's fine. I don't need them. They are cool to have, but they take up a lot of screen space, and I'd rather be able to fit many Pro L2s on the screen at once. So I have it in the compact mode. I am not messing very much with any effects except the style, which has led to a lot of interesting discoveries about the styles. But I do, in general, on the highs and the mids, I tend to unlink the transients so that the left and the right are completely separated. I think on the lows, I linked them 100%. And so that's what's going on here. Let's put the lows down here. And let's grab the mids and move them over here. So there are 3 of them, and on each of them, I have oversampling turned on 2 times 8. So let's leave a little room so we can see that. So all you're seeing basically is the ability to just me see everything all at once. And then at the very end, there is a balance. This is just a volume control to allow me to change the level at the end. I do turn it down quite a bit because I intend to push these as hard as they possibly can go and just get the ultimate squish out of these things, essentially. Some things you can do with this, you can change up the style per band, and you could add in additional effects on a particular band to get some stereo shaping on a specific band. But the main intention in this sort of bass patch is to move around these while music is playing and to be able to manipulate the gain of these all at the same time. And there are ways of manipulating the gain by different amounts so that, say, the lows don't get pushed as hard as the others. You can write a formula using the Fruity Formula controller to make it so. So you only need one knob, but it affects them differently. I didn't want to do anything that crazy, just sort of a basic multi-band setup with the gain stage at the end. So if we go back to the surface, I now can move the highs and the lows, and it will change what the sends are sending out to go to the different Pro L2s. And then we have a gain control, which is essentially how hard we're pushing each Pro L2. And then there is a post gain at the very end. Now, it would make sense to have a mix control, but there's one included by default right here. So I do not feel the need to go in and hook one up. But if I wanted to get fancier, it might make more sense to do that. But I went ahead and just decided to use this. So with the gain all the way down, these are all at 0. So nothing's being pushed into the ceiling, and it sounds, just like a bell. The split doesn't really matter. It might make some small differences, but it's nothing significant. Then as we begin to push it, you'll see these begin to turn on by various amounts. And then as we move it, we can change which one of these they're going to. And you can move it around and get these cool sweeping effects. Right after these sweeping effects, this will in general just make it sound louder, which is why you may need to adjust the post gain afterwards. But it can have some really cool effects, especially on something that's very transient heavy like this bell. When we bring the low band up, you hear that just awesome clicking. It becomes so pronounced. Yeah, stuff like that. Stuff that you just wouldn't normally come across. Now, with this particular setup, I tried for the life of me to find a way to create something that could change these styles automatically, but this is just not something we are given access to. So I can't do it. But I am unsafe with this particular sound. If we were to go for something like, I don't know, let's do aggressive here. We'll do aggressive. It will sound like this. So that's aggressive. And I do have oversampling on so that these things sound pretty good. To get some more of that high-end sound, if we were to bring the high band down, you could try something like all around. And then you get the distortion. Almost like a bit crusher style thing, the clipper. Here is modern. This is the default one when you load one up. Sounds pretty good. Modern holds up surprisingly well in terms of transparency while still giving some of the color without introducing the distortion. The obviously safe is like safe and transparent both have an unprecedented amount of cleanness to them while still trying to give you that super limited sound. Here's another example with some chords on a saw lead, and I'm going to start with the mix level off. I'm going to turn it on and then move the high and the low just to show you some of the textures you can get out of it, these movements that you could add in to the sound. Now, if we wanted, we could try something different. Like here, we've got aggressive, aggressive, modern. We could go for something like punchy and then transparent, transparent, and try that out. So there's an interesting way, an unnatural way to use limiting. If you've tried something like this before or have some suggestions, leave them down below. I always read the comments, and it's always interesting to see what you guys think. Good idea, bad idea. How would you use this? I'm using it here mostly as a creative effect as opposed to a mixing one. Afterwards, I would treat it in the mix completely separately. Subscribe and hit that bell icon for future videos, and have a blessed day.